with indie marketing, right? Indie developers just feel like, well, when it's done, I'll announce it. When it's announced, I'll build my own audience. And it's only a pretty new concept with smaller teams to find like maybe we should leave it to the professionals, kind of help us, and we concentrate on the game. So how
Yeah.
was that back and forth? Was it more like here's did you guys have to pitch the game to them? Like how far did you have to go with them, and how much of an interaction day to day did you have to keep up to date with them?
Yeah, we were deeply involved. So Pop Agenda is really unique in that, they do a lot of work that a publisher does, but they each person on the team has a very unique discipline that makes the whole thing work together really well. So Nick Verge, for instance, is kind of like has this design background and he's a part of the team, and he did a deep dive on our game last September
Mm-hmm.
and basically gave us a ton of feedback and kind of had a really good idea at that point about like what exactly the game was so that he
Mm-hmm.
could give us feedback and translate that feedback to marketing plans for Pop Agenda and
Right.
us.
So he
So
was
they got
playing
really familiar with the game.
playing with your build of the game and everything, and okay.
Exactly. Yeah, and we talked about design aspects with him. We're like, yeah, here's what we were thinking. Like we were literally just talking as if we were just designing the game with basically
Mm-hmm.
someone who's in charge of the marketing team. So
That's
they were
unique.
like directly involved in understanding,
Mm-hmm.
what the game is and how it could present and like what its features are, like what the hooks in the gameplay are. And he was really good about being critical and saying like, here's what I feel like people will find value, this, and this.
Mm-hmm.
And the other stuff isn't necessarily important, or people will discover it as they play it, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And that was really valuable. And he continues to give feedback. He continued to give feedback. The entire team did really
Mm-hmm.
through the finishing of the entire production and leading up to release and launch and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like, and we definitely stayed synced. Like we would talk, basically starting end of last year, we were constantly in communication. At first it was kind of weekly, and then it was more often. We just kind of have a Discord where we just chat about everything that's happening on the game.
Mm-hmm.
We're just as open as we can be about like, here's where we're at now. Here's what we just finished. Here's what we're focusing on next. And they would do the same with, their marketing plans. So we just stayed in sync as much as possible.
Right. And one of the dangers of developing a game, when it comes to finally revealing the announcement, right, you kind of have to change gears and you kind of pivot towards like this is for marketing. We got to show our best, and we sometimes have to pause real development. Did you guys have to do that, or did you guys find like a nice little middle stage? Because there's literally the core
Yeah.
team is just two people. You can't really
Right.
just stop
Yeah.
development.
It's very hard to do it. Like any tangents at all means like full stop on
Mm-hmm.
production, right? We did it a little bit leading up to GDC because Pop Agenda told us you guys need a demo. It's got to be like tight, contained, 10 to 15 minutes long so people can get in and out, and it's got a good loop. They were advising another team at the same time, Bloodroots is the name of the
Mm-hmm.
game, who had just made a demo that was like doing really well and had a lot of success. So they're like, check it out, like this. Do a demo that's going to be like this and has these features and stuff like that. So we went on a tangent for a little bit before GDC just to make that demo, get something really prepared. And that was incredibly valuable. It showed really well at GDC, like player feedback was awesome. And we continued to use that demo, honestly, for the next like few months at different events and conferences and stuff like that. And we didn't necessarily have to go back and continue to work on it.
Mm-hmm.
We just kind of at some point had the question like, hey, do we want to update the demo for this new event that's happening? I realized the demo might be kind of old, and a lot of the time we're like, that's fine. Like the demo's good enough. It's not worth us taking our focus away from like the main production of the game. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So we took a couple of small tangents, but I feel like we tried really hard to make sure we kept the focus on finishing the game and focusing on the game and putting all the quality and effort into that.
Mm-hmm.
But I've definitely been in situations where like, yeah, I'm having to do stuff that feels like it's sideways work when
Mm-hmm.
you want to be just focusing on the actual production itself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, especially in a small team, you're constantly pulled in all types of directions, not just
It's tough
through
decisions.
discipline. Yeah, but like marketing, although you guys had a marketing agency to kind of help with that,
Yeah.
there was a lot of
Yeah.
back and forth to kind of keep them in the loop and have the latest information, right? Because the game's
Yeah.
changing every day.
Oh, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and we have a lot of experience again just in smaller productions where you really have to be decisive about what's got the most bang for your buck. Like if we're going to decide at any given week what we're going to put our focus on, we need to make sure it's going to be like the most valuable thing to put effort into at that week, at that time.